rumours were true. The biggest team switch in the history of F1 racing was confirmed this morning, with champion driver Lewis Hamilton making the massive jump from Mercedes to Ferrari.
39-year-old F1 megastar Lewis Hamilton had signed with current team Mercedes until the end of 2025, but as of this morning, he has sensationally triggered an exit clause.
Punch me, Guido. Punch me in the face.
Next year, he'll jump in the cockpit for fabled F1 powerhouse Ferrari, and fans around the world are shook.
It's huge news, no matter which sport you follow.
It is seriously huge. I mean, the biggest team in the history of F1 and possibly one of the best drivers of all time in F1, colliding worlds. I mean, no one really expected it to actually happen.
And today, even our local pollies were gobsmacked in these grabs that we absolutely did not take out of context.
This is good for workers.
This is quite crazy.
They're spending longer and longer in their car.
Anyway, Hamilton will continue to drive for Mercedes in 2024 for one final year, a team with whom he has won 6 of his 7 Drivers' Championships.
I've had an amazing 11 years with this team, and I'm so proud of what we have achieved together. Making the decision to leave was one of the hardest I've ever had to make.
Love that accent. But it's time for a new era for Hamilton. Hamilton!
This has nothing to do with Hamilton the musical. I'm certain of that. Ferrari do need him, and Lewis might be able to give them the edge over Red Bull as quick as Max Verstappen looks.
Hamilton's current Mercedes deal was worth an estimated $53 million, although it's not yet known how much he'll be pocketing for the prancing Italian horse.
Well, we've said that we're looking at the figures.
Either way, nothing will ever be the same again.
Imagine the scenes. Lewis Hamilton's final year in F1 at Ferrari. He wins the title and he retires as a legend. It could be incredible.
It is the most glorious day of my life.
Well, joining us now is Chris Hewgill from the Fast and the Curious and F1 Explains podcast. Christian, Lewis apparently broke this crazy news to his Mercedes teammates just before playing paintball with them. Question, was that a good idea? Was Toto just lining him up?
This was news to me as I woke up this morning. I don't think there's ever a great time to announce that the biggest legend in the sport's history, arguably, certainly statistically the most successful driver, is leaving. When do you break that news?
Well, maybe after the paintball session, because I feel like the bruising would be more intense beforehand.
I've spoken to Lewis, and he's one of these people, the direct opposite of me at school, who was just good at everything. They probably wouldn't have been able to hit him anyway. He's probably a champion at that as well.
Right.
He wins most things.
Good point. Now, he did say, of course, he said he's committed to Mercedes for the coming season. Why would he not say that? But how do you think Mercedes are feeling right now working with a driver who's going to abandon them?
Well, Mercedes will be devastated. As I just said, you can't lose a generational talent like Sir Lewis Hamilton and not be absolutely gutted. And it's a monumental job for them to look to pick themselves up and move on and replace him, because let's not forget, it was only August last year where he signed a new contract. So in Formula One terms and in sporting terms, this has come relatively out of the blue. But don't underestimate the love the two have for each other, Mercedes and Lewis. And that won't have just eroded. They will want to end this with a fairy tale ending. Lewis is a pro. He'll be just as determined to win that 8th with Mercedes before walking off into a red-tinted sunset with his future at Ferrari.
Well, when he heads to Ferrari, will he possibly thrive there, or are they kidding themselves that he's going to win the whole shebang there?
Boring answer, but realistic one. It's too early to tell. Ferrari did show some promising signs last year. They were the only non-Red Bull team to win a race with, ironically, Carlos Sainz, who's been booted out in favour of Lewis. They haven't won a Drivers' World Championship since 2007, all the way back since Kimi Raikkonen. And two big names, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel, have both gone there and tried to sort of break the duck. Is it a tall order? Yes. Should you rule Lewis Hamilton out of doing anything? Absolutely not. He's not always won when he's had the quickest car. So it's just a mouth-watering, fascinating, tantalising prospect for F1 geeks like me.
Now, Christian, we would not be serious journalists if we did not try and spin this to be all about Australia. Now, is there any chance that the vacant Mercedes seat that Lewis is leaving could be taken up by Danny Rick or Oscar Piastri?
Well, let's do Oscar first. Oscar has a contract to McLaren until the end of the 2026 season, and Mercedes need a driver for 2025, so that seems highly unlikely. Daniel Ricciardo, you would think if he absolutely bosses it at RB, the Red Bull Junior team this year, he'll have his eyes on getting his old seat back at Red Bull for the 2025 season, because Sergio Perez is entering the last year of his contract. So both seem unlikely. But we can now safely say stranger things have happened, because Mercedes have lost Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. So who knows?
Who knows indeed. Hopefully Drive to Survive the next season.
Oh, yeah.
Christian, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, guys. Loved it.
Wow.
This is obviously massive news, and I've done my research. I did not come here without knowing exactly what was going on.
I would expect nothing less.
And by that I mean I read the use of family WhatsApp today, because it has been all the chat. Look, it's going to be an awkward year. Carlos Sainz has to sit.
See, you know it. You know it.
Because Carlos Sainz has to spend a year with Ferrari, knowing that when he leaves, / is booted out, that old mate's coming in.
Yeah,
so
they do
old
not
mate's
want
his real
him.
name. So that's going to be a bit of a drama. But I was trying to get my head around it, and I thought, well, what other terms could you explain it to me? And my nephews chose NRL, which was an interesting choice. So they said it's kind of like Nathan Cleary going across to Parramatta.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes
100%.
sense. All right,
Makes
well
complete
done.
sense,
Well
because
done.
it's such a big rivalry.
It's like Bugs Bunny going to Disney.
To put it in Rove terms.
Yes.
Put it in Rove terms, you'd say, oh, it's like when Cody Rhodes went from AEW to WWE, right?
Or it's like when Rove went to Channel 7 or something. That'd be the
That'd be the
actual
biggest thing. Well, it's like Zayn when he left One Direction. That is the turmoil that the Mercedes fans are experiencing.
Heartbreak.
But it's even worse, because it's not that he just like left and went solo. He then joined Five Sauce. So it's like you've come and you've gone into a new team.
What is Five Sauce?
I've never heard of that
Seconds of
wrestling
Summer.
company.